Okay, let's see, moving on. What do we have? Hope against hope. 3 mana or +1/1 for each creature you control seems kinda strong, and then the creature gets first strike. If you have a human. Yeah, this seems alright. Bit situational, but I like it. More of a filler, to be honest, but I still like it. Humble the Brood, pretty nice removal for limited. It costs a lot, but it's instant. It only destroys a big creature, but you have Investigate, so you kind of pay extra mana for the card draw, which is okay. So it's not an amazing removal spell, but it's fine. It's fine. Daring Sleuth or whatever. 2 mana 2/1. When you sacrifice a clue, transform this thing, and it becomes a pretty good body. 3/2 Provost, and when it does damage to them, you get to investigate, so you get a clue token. Yeah, I like it. Even as a 2 mana 2/1, it's already fine for some decks that desperately need 2 drops, so it's fine. Whole pack Resurgence will be absurd and limited and constructed. I think I've said a little bit about that for constructed, but not for limited. Crippin' that is the city good. 4 mana enchantment. Upkeep, both discard. Then Who discarded E card that shares a card. Wait, what? Each opponent who discarded a card that shares a card type with the card you discarded loses 3 life? Okay, let's just say that I don't like this in constructed. I don't like this in normal limited. I may really like it in Two-Headed Giant, and especially in things like Multiplayer Commander and stuff like that. So this set does have a lot for pretty much everybody. Rise from the Tide is pretty crazy for 6 mana. You get a bunch of zombies, versions, and a sorcery card in your graveyard. So I would say that you're most likely not gonna be playing this card in your typical zombie deck in standard or in limited, but you would play this in a let's say control-ish, a bit more spell intensive combo-ish deck in your standard, in limited, much like the funky graveyard flashback self-milling decks that we had with original Innistrad. Peerless Evangel is definitely good. You get to gain some life, and then you get to transform it by just sacrificing any permanent, and then it becomes a 2/4 body that actually trains instead of just life gain. So it's okay. I like it. Probably not constructed playable, but definitely very fine and limited. Okay, all the next cards from the next row in the middle here, starting from the Reaper to Patrol, are very decent and limited for sure, and then the vampires are obviously OPs in I think in standard vampires. People probably gonna underestimate Aristocrat in standards. I think I really like it, but you need to make the right deck for it, basically. Meanwhile, the 2 mana vampires that discard cards are both gonna be pretty great in limited and in standard. What else is interesting that I haven't really talked about for limited at the list? And what's not that obvious? Yeah, all these cards so far are pretty decent and limited, but I should rather say something about cards that are on the borderline. or require some build up. Murderous Compulsion, definitely good. 2 mana for destroy target tapped creature. We had that even though in the core set, but for like 3 mana. And this thing also has Madness. This is absurd. This is absurd for limited, of course. And it might be actually okay for standards. I don't know. 2 mana is 2 mana, even at sorcery speed. Like, especially with Madness. And I might actually try out this Elms of the Wane in standard Vampires deck as well. Okay, it's a bump in the night. Well, it's more than a bump in the night, kinda. Because they lose 3, you gain 3. So, while having enough of Madness cards and enough of these cards is probably vital, and those vampire decks would really struggle to have enough space for everything they may ever want. But I would want to try this out in Vampire's deck. Not sure if I would play it in limited necessarily, but because it doesn't deal damage to a creature, so it's only face. But in the very fast black-red deck, why not? Well, it doesn't even have to be black-red, but most likely will be black-red. If your deck is very quick and very tempo-ish, so why not? Just to close down the game quicker. This is very nice, by the way, like the card to the left of Elms. It's a common that's pretty decent because it's a 2/4 for 4 mana and enters play and you get to investigate. Very solid common. Nothing insane, but very solid. Very solid. Would make the cut most of the time because it's almost like a solid body and you draw a card. And especially if you get some blink effects, some bounce, etc., so it becomes even more great. Dauntless Cathar at the top left. Also like it. 3 mana 3/2 with a human subtype creature type. It's definitely good. And then for 2 mana, exile this from your graveyard. You get 1/1 flyer token. Yeah, very solid, very solid. I'm surprised that there is a very small amount of limited unplayables. Perhaps just the cards like Chaplain's Blessing. 1 white, gain 5, it's sorcery speed, so that's not that great. Bowier's Courier to the right, 3 mana, 3/2. Dice, you get to investigate, also very solid. Dual Shot is definitely pretty sick. At 1 mana at instant speeds, 1 damage to 2 creatures, that's just insane to me. Alright, let's continue. So, Dual Shot is definitely awesome. Then we have this Accomplice, 2 mana 2/2 human in black, which is kinda awkward. 4 mana, exile it from graveyard. Yeah, you get a zombie. Yeah, I do like this cycle quite a lot, I think. I do like this cycle. Cathar's Companion, 3/1 for free. When you cast a non-creature, this thing that gets indestructible until end of turn. Yeah, very solid common, I think. Nothing that absurd, but I like it. If you have few instants or something, or just spells, then sure, it's nice. Ghostly Wings, it's a functional reprint from Odyssey block, I believe. Yeah, when Madness was originally a thing. and flashback and all sort of things, thresholds, etc. I think it was a fine limited card back then, and now it's still gonna be fine. Basically, you give a creature +1/+1 and flying, and then it's an enabler for discard and madness and etc. And you get to return this thing back to your hand. Just to put it on some other creature of yours. Bear in mind that while auras are often bad, this one jumps back to your hand at any point if you can discard a card at instant speed also, and even if they deal with it somehow, let's say you had just no card in hand, etc., it also switches on Delirium, so that's a very nice feature for actually running more enchantments and auras than you would normally play in limited in such a set, let's say. Inquisitor, 3 mana to 3, gets bigger for each equipment. Nothing fancy, but some decks might just play it if your curve is gonna become ugly in those colors and you would want to play white because of a lot of removal, and then it becomes bigger than just a tiny splash and you actually want to smoothen your curve, etc. Okay, oh wow, the Blood Mad Vampire. You get a 4/1 for 3 mana, which grows bigger if it connects, and it has madness for 2 mana. This is sick! For limited, of course. 4 can road next to it. 2 mana, search up 2 basics, reveal them, and put 1 into your hand, 1 into your graveyard. Huh? Okay, so fetches up your land and puts a land into your graveyard for Delirium. That's nice. That's nice for R&D to actually give us something for limited this interesting. So we can ditch a basic type that we don't really need into graveyard, and then fix our colors, well, not ramp us, but fix our mana still. Yeah, don't underestimate this card. It does a lot of things for you with a set with not that much fixing. And I tend to play a lot of multicolored grindy value decks and sealed, so I'm really happy to see that card in the set. Grotesque Mutation, not a fan of. You get +3/+1 lifelink, but okay, it's nothing exciting, but because it fits into the kind of requirements for cost plus effect for combat tricks, so people would play it, and probably I should play it if I would be playing a creature heavy deck, like a faster deck, then I probably should play it. Of course the art is grotesque, but it's the whole point. Isolate Neonate, 1 mana vamp with menace, so it's not gonna be blocked that easily. This is pretty nice, especially if you have a very fast vamp deck, plus if you get that enchantment that actually pumps your guys when they connect, and this is gonna connect quite often because in black and red you have a lot of tricks, a lot of cheap removal, etc. Throttle doesn't seem as insane in this set, by the way. Unlike in some others where removal was scarce and it was more important because of some other things, like making a giant Terminator that you would want to kill because it will fall apart into a lot of guys, but you wouldn't want everything to die all the time in response to bestow and so on. But in this set I don't think it's that insane, so it's probably a bit worse, but it's still instant removal with a single color requirement. By the way, that Neonate, as you can see, it has another ability and it's gonna be cycled through later in the game, so it's never really dead. It's good in the early game, especially if you have some support, some ways to actually pump it, like put some counters on it, etc. And then later on you can just cycle it, so that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Thoughts. What are my thoughts about the nagging thoughts? It's sorcery, first of all. Of course, for madness, that basically means it's becoming an instant. You look at top 2, 1 into hands, the other into graveyard. Okay. Sleight of hand would put a card to the bottom, the one that you wouldn't choose. But it was 1 mana. Here, well, yeah, you can basically instant this, and you put the other card that you don't take into graveyard. I guess it's okay. I'm not sure how much I like this in constructed, but I definitely do like this card in limited, that's for sure. The Ox is nothing exciting, but it's a decent common. I would probably play it in a general mid-range deck that's not really hungry for synergies between creature types. Emissary is okay. 5 mana 2 for flyer is already fine, but then when it enters and a creature died this turn, you get a bonus 1/1. So yeah, very solid, very solid. We'll definitely play it in white. Even in, well, it's actually especially good in aggro decks. So keep in mind that it's actually much better in aggro decks because you want this bonus token. So that means on turn 5 you would want to attack and trade with something, or make some of your smaller guys actually run into their creatures so that you get actually an extra flyer. But I could see it being fun in control-ish decks as well, because you would want at least some early drops, and control decks are really fine trading creatures off early on if such an option occurs, so that's fine. So let's get some answers out of the press. So you freeze a guy essentially and you investigate, but it's sorcery. Guess it's fine. The fact that it kinda cycles is okay. Wolf. Okay. Free for free money in red, so there's probably a downside. And there is. It can't block unless you control another wolf or wolf. That doesn't sound like a downside to me, because this is gonna happen pretty much all the time. Yeah, because there are so many good 2/3/4 drops, wolves, werewolves, so yeah, it's not really a drawback, so think about it. So be aware of this. So creatures like this and some others actually make 4 and 5 toughness creatures much better. So werewolves are actually gonna set the pace in limited in terms of card evaluation and what's gonna make the cut in your deck and whatnot. So yeah, in particular, high toughness creatures, at least 4, if not 5, is gonna be very good commodity if you're playing a slower deck. So think about that Ox, think about the Emissary, etc. Provisioner. Thriftly Tramper for 4, okay, and when it enters, now you control gets, oh my god, okay. Let's put it this way, this creature doesn't have flash, which was really busted on those cards that were luckily uncommons and not commons. So those creatures that were like at least in 2 sets were really annoying, because you get a free and you pump a guy at instant speed. It's not the case with this provisioner, but while they took out the flash, they've put this into common, and they give this thing trample, and they gave it a good creature type. So okay, it pumps a human, but it's also human itself. This is big. This is pretty big. Thank goodness no flash, because it doesn't really fit as a theme into the set. Only like some spirits have flash. Drift 2 mana 2/2 spirit, and delirium gets flying. Yeah, very nice common. Very nice common. I think I would play it even like in a non-spirit deck. I think I would play it in a human stack if I can actually at least sometimes activate delirium. Right, moving on. Not a fan of 1/3 zombies. Not like the stats you're looking for on zombies. Really. The stallion. So 3 mana for 4. Okay, with delirium, this thing gets pumped, and is it like you can do it as many times as you want? Yeah, you can do this as many times as you want per turn. So, which makes this actually a fine card. Not amazing, but fine. Very decent filler. Because you need to hit delirium for this to actually matter, so that's why it's just fine and not like very decent. Senseless Rage is fine, especially because it has madness. Auras, as I told you, have the secret benefits of being something that switches on delirium. Luam Droid, are you kidding me? Okay, 1 mana 1/2. It doesn't straight ahead give you mana. You have to tap another guy to get mana. But any mana at common. Come on. Even though it's not gonna be constructed playable, but very fine for limited, like super fine, I think. Not for every deck for sure. Probably not for like control-ish limited decks, but if let's say you're mid-range-ish, then I would probably play this, because you're probably gonna end up with some of the early drops to be able to block things and so on. Okay, Strength of Arms is actually good. 1 mana plus to 2 invite at instant speed. Why not? If you have an equipment, you get a 1/1. Okay, let's say it's just fine. Nothing super exciting. Nothing super exciting. Of course, if you hit equipment, this card becomes way better. Extra trump blocker is pretty big, plus the token is human, so all the synergies of that. Snapper, yeah, we've seen such cards pretty much almost in every set. But the downside here is kind of weird in terms of wording. We haven't seen that kind of a condition before. Normally it's islands and then island walk and stuff like this. Yeah, it's okay. You just cast a sorcery speed removal and then you can attack with this thing. It's a fine roadblock for control-ish deck and sealed. The rats, well, it's a 2 mana Death Touch creature, which is already fine. And then it's hard to block, so yeah, it's okay. 2 mana Death Toucher, count me in. That's gonna be okay. Rush Your Adrenaline, 1 mana instant, +2/+1 and trample. Yeah, this seems very nice. Nice combat trick. Would play it probably. Classic Dire Swine. 6 mana 6/6. That's already pretty decent. And then with Delirium it gets trample. Very nice indeed. Yeah, so watch out for that. So Green Out Werewolves deck would top out with this, and you would not be happy about it, because once you deal with all their mid-game threats, then you would have to deal with a 6/6 trample guy for 6. So not nice, not nice. Stern Constable is kinda weird. Yes, it's a tapper, but it requires you to discard a card. So I would say that it's not amazing. It's okay, but it's much worse than you think it is. Oh, let's put it this way. Stormrider Spirit, it's a functional reprint. I like it. It's gonna be one of the best blue commons. It's gonna block a small creature because of the flash, and then you have a free flyer. Always nice. Noble is a reprint, essentially. Reduce the ashes. Yeah, nice to have it. To set it's sorcery, but that's okay. Removal is removal. That's for sure. Might. How do I feel about the might? 2 counters or 3 counters? It's okay, but not super exciting. It's, I don't know. I would think a lot before putting it in, even into my aggressive Sealed draft deck. Tormenting Voice is of course fine. Ghoul is fine. Observer is pretty nice actually, because I told you 5 toughness actually matters a lot for slower decks because of all the transforming 4/4 wolves and stuff like this. And then it has flying, so it can block anything pretty much. So I would say it would be one of the more important blue commons for slower decks, and just one of the most crucial blue commons in general. Puncturing Light, very nice removal. I like it. 2 mana instant removal, because it's conditional, but it's okay. Would play it in pretty much any deck, because there are gonna be always targets for it, I would say. And it's not just attacking, it's also blocking, so it's fine. Unruly Mob is a reprint. It was busted first time around. I think it's still gonna be busted. Sleep Paralysis, so just tap on a creature and freeze it. Yeah, solid removal. They're replayable and limited. Stormkirk Mentor. Very nice common. Definitely would play on Cage Fury. A bit weird, but it's a nice combat trick. A lot of the times it probably won't make the cut, but most of the time it would. The mini Tarmogoyf, as people say, Mold Graph Scavenger. Fine. As on turn 2, definitely good when you're moving on. Let's just say that it's much better in slower mid-range controlling decks than in aggro builds in limited, because this way you get an early blocker and something that can trade or actually attack later on. Potentially a constructed playable. I won't be surprised if it will be a constructed playable somewhere along the lines. I'm not sure exactly in what deck, exactly in what format, but I mean, mini Tarmogoyf is still gonna be good, especially if it's standard, legal, etc. Basically, when Tarmogoyf first came out, most of the time it was just a free 4, and people were fine with it because it was played mostly in red-green beat-down decks, and it was okay to have something that becomes essentially a free 4 for 2 on turn 3 or something. And yes, those decks would play something like Seal of Fire to switch it on more effectively. I don't think there were fetches there. I don't think so. But I think there were ways to actually sacrifice a land. Something like that. Anyways, it's gonna be played. Silver Strike is okay. I'm looking forward actually to opening some of them because I like value mid-range decks and seals with a lot of colors, with a lot of grinding capabilities. And Catalog is actually fine. Because what was it? The card from Origins is also instant, also draw 2, and then you either discard the card or you don't if you have an artifact. Okay, fine. Yeah, that other card is strictly better because it still does the same and does something better if you have an artifact in play. But for this set, I think it was essential to print something like this, and I suppose if you bring something more busted than this, then it could be potentially broken for constructed. But instant way to cycle and activate madness and etc. That's obviously very nice. Rapid Boys. Target which you control this damage equal to its power. The target which you don't control. Yeah, essentially a prey pawn for 2 mana, I would say. Though, no wait, it's not actually a prey pawn because they're not fighting. They're just dealing damage. I mean, the creature just deals damage to its power. So it's actually, I think it might be better than prey pawn, even though, well, essentially it's better, maybe not better as a card because it's not instant and it costs 1 more, but the effect is better. The Hulk Indelible is okay, but I'm not sure how I feel like about a 5/2 for 4 in this form. It's probably worse in this set than in some others. Feral Guidance, you probably would play that considering how many different ways you could have to make spirit tokens with humans and spirits and etc. So you can actually spam the board somehow, and then yeah, even though it's a sorcery, but you would play it in a human stack with spirit tokens and such. Scrutiny is it's good that it cycles and it costs 2 mana, but those type of cards very rarely make the cut. I don't know if this will be an exception of the rule. We'll see. Resolve is okay-ish, especially if you can abuse that synergy, so sacrificing a guy which you would want to eat, things like that. I'm not very high on the Pyrohound. If it would be something like a 3/2 instead of a 2/3, maybe I'll like it more. It's okay. Basically, if you just play 1 instant sorcery. Oh wait. Apologies. So it's not just +1/1 until end of turn. It's a counter. Okay. Then let me say that this is gonna be a pretty annoying card. even in limited. Not sure about constructed, probably not, because 4 mana is a lot. But this thing will get out of hand in limited for sure very quickly in the right deck. Just put 2 counters on this thing and then like you're not gonna be happy at all, and trample is gonna make things even worse. Wolves are fine. For 5/5 is definitely very okay at common. With one of the main creature types. Inspiring Captain is basically a reprint, kinda. I like the cards. You're gonna play it way more often than not. Maybe not even in the human stack, but especially there, because you spam the board probably the best out of all the tribal archetypes. Volraden Duelists. 4 mana free to haste, which is fine, and then when it enters, touch creature can't block this turn. Very good common, very good common. Definitely would play it unlimited. It's a very nice one. Aim high, untap a guy, plus the 2 and reach. Also very nice. I would play this main deck in the green creature deck, that's for sure. Fox is nice. 2 mana free ones are fine most of the time. Lamplighter is just okay. You basically get to cycle. It's probably much better in mid-range control-ish deck.